It feels like spring in Missouri today for the 2022 Black and Gold Spring Game here in Columbia on SEC Network. With Greg McElroy, I'm Taylor Zarzour. You'll see Tom Luginbill in just a moment. Spring football is all about new faces, and we got plenty to see here today, G-Mac, especially at your position.
Yeah, a lot of quarterback drama naturally throughout the Southeastern Conference footprint, and of course the battles are underway. Here at Missouri, you have two very capable quarterbacks in Brady Cook and Tyler Macon. Now, Brady Cook, maybe a little bit more experienced, a little bit better understanding of the system, more of the natural passer, and Tyler Macon, who's made great strides as a passer, the great athlete at the position. So two guys that kind of counterbalance each other that have both seen limited action the last couple of years.
Connor Bazelak has transferred. Mizzou could have some more faces at that quarterback spot in the months to come. For more on what's happening with Mizzou, let's go to Tom Luginbill with the head coach.
Taylor, thanks. I really appreciate it, Coach. Obviously, 15 days. Time is precious. You've got a lot of new faces, a new defensive coordinator in Blake Baker. But what are you trying to accomplish with these 15 days to get this program headed in the right direction?
You know, for us, spring's all about individual player development. How much better can you get? How much better can you get in understanding our schemes, fundamentals, and skills that it's going to take for you to be a great football player? And then how do we develop team chemistry? And I thought today's game's an opportunity for those guys to not worry about the depth chart, to go out there and perform at their individual capabilities, but then also, get a chance to see what they can do in front of a crowd.
You know, it's interesting. You took a little bit of a different approach, and you let your players dictate who's going to be on the team, actually how to draft.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that?
Again, building team camaraderie and letting these guys have some ownership in the opportunity and the space. And then, again, man, nothing's better than a little competition and seeing where you match up with the rest of your peers.
All right, go have a good time, will you?
Yeah. M-I-Z.
M-I-Z. Hey, listen, by the way, I got you. I hear you, Coach. Speaking of those new faces, guys, a top 12 recruiting class for Missouri, arguably one of the best classes that maybe this program's ever had, the 2022 class, headlined by this guy, wide receiver Luther Burden, a top 5 player in the ESPN 300, regardless of position. Early enrollee will be on display today. This guy is big, he is fast, he is explosive, and he can make a ton of plays. This is one of those guys that could set the fuse for Missouri's program going forward in attracting more talent to stay not only in state, but come to Columbia.
Objectivity, too, and not the Z-O-U at the end there, Luke. You have to be objective, right?
Of course, I have to be. I have to be.
And you're objective about Luther Burden, too, one of the best in all of high school football, now playing for the Missouri Tigers. Greg, you like this format, black versus gold today. Everybody's going to get to participate as we see the first play as Cook swings one out very quickly to Burden on the first play, Greg.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the format, too, that you referenced, where the players have some ownership over the teams that they drafted. And you kind of see where you fit, right? If you got drafted ahead of maybe some of you're competing against, that's a direct reflection. That's what the coach is putting out a depth chart. That's your peers making the call. So I love that they've now scheduled it this way, and I think it'll be highly competitive as a result.
And you'll see the rust get knocked off here in the first few possessions for both teams. We're going to quickly get into the quarterbacks here that Greg talked about in our open, with Brady Cook starting for the black team, and Tyler Macon, you'll see him when the gold is on offense. Cook, a sophomore from St. Louis, threw for over 300 yards, backing up Bazelak last year, and 2 touchdown passes as well. As we said, Bazelak transferring out of the program, going to Indiana. Cook and Macon with a real shot to be the starting quarterback in 2022 for the Tigers as Cook throws it to the left sideline.
And Brady Cook, too, throws a nice ball, Taylor. I mean, he really has a nice arm, a nice release. He's accurate. And Eli Drinkwitz has been really proud of how both his quarterbacks have learned the system, have gotten more comfortable in the system. But this quarterback battle far from over. I mean, like you referenced as well, there might be more faces in the quarterback room when they open up fall camp. But a big opportunity today for Brady Cook to kind of take ownership of this team and to head into the summer as the guy that has a slight lead probably against Tyler Macon.
3rd and 15 for Cook on the first possession, and it's an underneath throw that goes to the 35 to the captain of the black team, Barrett Bannister, up to the 35-yard line. GMAC, are we punting today? Are we going to go for it on 4th and 11 on our own 35?
Well, the players get to make that decision. They are not actively calling the plays.
Coach, are they punting? They're punting?
Jack
Why are you punting,
Stonehouse.
Coach?
All right, why are you punting? What about the analytics? Wait.
I guess we're not adopting the Presbyterian model where you go for it on every 4th down. I guess that's not the way to do it.
I do like the fact that the returner, Dominic Lovett, just has one man to beat here. No, just fair catch, just a fair catch there. As obviously we're not going to return punts after Stonehouse punts it over to the gold team. So what's the difference, Greg, between Cook and Tyler Macon as Macon brings his offense on the field?
Well, at this point, Cook's just a little bit more polished as a passer, and that's to be expected. He's a little bit older. I mean, he's been around a little bit longer. And Macon is an explosive athlete. I mean, he can run, he can create, and behind an offensive line that, might have some ups and downs replacing 2 key pieces, maybe you might want to side with a guy that has a little bit more athleticism. So they're very different players. And I think we saw that at times last year against Georgia, against Army. When these guys got opportunities, the offense really changed based on who was under center. So I think they have 2 really solid options at the position and can kind of change their offensive identity based on who's under center.
And obviously that's not the only thing that is in transition for Missouri on offense. It's also who's going to carry the mail for them this year at tailback. First carry goes to Elijah Young, the junior from Knoxville. Tyler Beatty was one of the best tailbacks in the SEC last season for Missouri. We'll talk more about that position, but sticking with the quarterback here for a moment. Greg just referenced Macon playing in a few games in Athens last year against the national champions, threw a 65-yard touchdown pass in his first career completion against Southeast Missouri. That's a sidearm pass that's intercepted. Dalen Carnell going the other way. Pick 6 for the black team. A redshirt freshman from Indianapolis off of the carom takes it to the house.
Just a little look what I found right there as the ball got kind of tipped up, and Luke's and I had to sprint to get out of the way, but just an off-target throw there from Macon on the shallow cross, thrown behind the intended receiver. Yep. Easily tipped up and intercepted.
Trying to change his arm angle a little bit. Couldn't quite get a clear view in the alley there on the cross route and end up throwing behind him. And that's the thing, if you're not accurate and the ball gets tipped up in the air, the quarterback, this is what spring football's for, right, Greg? You've got to eliminate those situations. Know you're backed up in your own red area, and you've got to be able to complete accurate throws.
As you can see, I mean, the sidearm is what I don't really understand. He had a clean pocket. He didn't have to throw it around the defender. Stepped up in the pocket. And anytime you drop your arm angle and you change things up, I mean, it increases the probability of you becoming inaccurate.
Right.
So stay in the pocket, stand tall in the pocket, and deliver the ball with a normal arm angle as opposed to the sidearm approach right there. That's just caused the ball to flutter a little bit.
Well, there's no question it caught Dominic Lovett, the intended receiver, off guard as it bounced off of him and it's picked off by Carnell. I want to know if Luganbill or McElroy could have made a tackle there.
Well, first off,
we weren't going to get in the pursuit angle, I can promise you that.
Yeah, Greg referenced the level of athleticism that was on display just to avoid being run over. I don't know if you saw it, but it was impressive.
I was a little more concerned about the backside.
Our tape crew has burned that copy. Mevis, as he's called,
concerned about it.
Harrison Mevis, who was outstanding last year, kicking off to Luganbill and McElroy over their head. Mevis did make the extra point, and it's 7-0 as the gold team will come back on the field. Tyler Macon see if he can get this offense going.
And this is a good opportunity to evaluate a young quarterback.
Right,
too,
see what he does.
Yeah, hey, mistakes happen, man. I mean, interceptions happen. There's not a quarterback in this world that's played at a high level of football that hasn't thrown an interception. How do you bounce back from it? And these are real moments. It's one thing in practice you throw a pick because it's not a real live situation, but you just threw a pick, backed up, led to 6. How do you respond mentally after making the mistake?
And you hear Coach Drink right here. Come on, 6, respond. It's exactly what Greg's talking about.
He just hands it to Lovett this time with a pitch ahead on a sweep to the 32-yard line where DJ Jackson makes the tackle. Love it.
And I like the play call there too. I mean, that's a completion. And I know he didn't throw it, but the quarterback naturally is just going to feel good. I mean, I just saw one go into a receiver's hands. That's a good, solid play and a nice run after catch.
Pickup of 7 yards on the play. See the running clock. It will stop on the change of possession, but keep running otherwise. Nice job eluding the defender by Elijah Young to turn nothing into something. It'll be 3rd and short.
And this is critical here. I mean, 3rd down, could run it, probably a few too many yards to run it. So this is a good opportunity to evaluate your quarterback, man. I mean, the difference makers at quarterbacks, 3rd downs. You got to win 3rd downs. And these downs like this could very well decide the competition. Are reps like this.
Macon looking over at that gold bench. Some last-second instructions. Has to get it to the 35. Hands it to Young, and he's wrapped up right at the 1st down marker by Isaiah McGuire.
Good job, too, by Macon there. Getting the ball snapped as the shot clock was winding down. He snapped it right at 0, but good awareness for the young quarterback and his game management.
You know, it's so interesting you say that because this is as game style of a spring game as you will find, and they've got the play clock working. All of these mechanics for the quarterback are on display here for them to be evaluated and judged based off of what they can handle and what they can process.
Again, checks it down to Lovett, and Lovett's going to lose 4 yards on the play as Justin Efabera makes the tackle. The sophomore from Columbus, Ohio, who's had a nice camp. Former walk-on that's pressed into duty today. A lot of defensive backs out today, Lukes, that we won't see. Ennis Rakestraw, Martez Manuel, Jelani Williams, Chris Abrams-Drain. All those guys will be big for the Tigers in 2022. Throw underneath to the 39-yard line is caught by Lovett. Damian Wilson on the tackle. It'll be 3rd down.
Good throw there by Macon, throwing away from the defender, and you kind of throw your receiver open. That was a nice accurate throw on the left shoulder, exactly where the ball needed to be.
You're right about the defensive backfield, an area 4 guys either signed at the high school level or through the transfer portal, but that's an area throughout the spring that Missouri, as you referenced, Taylor, has got to get ironed out considering the injuries they've had during these 15 days. So they're evaluating a lot of young players on that side of the ball.
It's a 3rd and 6. Macon drifting back. Lovett's got plenty of open space. Another 1st down for the Gold team into black territory down at the 49-yard line. Lovett just 4 catches on the season last year. Make that 26 catches on the season last year. Just only ran it 4 times. See what he did in 2021. Now Macon wants to throw the deep ball. Loads up down there, but it's over the head with a flag on the field. He was looking for J.J. Hester.
It's a good penalty right there. Yes. I'll trade 15 for a touchdown any day of the week. So
I'll tell you what, I was impressed with Macon right there. He hung
Nice
in the
throw.
pocket, Greg. It was a great throw. Gave it enough air up over the top, but he could have taken the underneath route, but showed some patience and belief in the pocket.
yeah, and he trusted that his receiver would climb over the top, and he was en route before he was grabbed. That was a good job taking the shot downfield. Like you said, though, I mean, you should salivate as a quarterback working against a secondary that is as depleted as it is. And, of course, a very different looking group the next time around.
That's right, the first game against Louisiana Tech here in Como. Fake to Young, and then it's Hester who gets the toss, and J.J. is down near the 23-yard line.
Here comes Nathaniel Pete into the ball game. Not sure if this is his first opportunity, but he's in at running back now. The Stanford transfer, and you referenced it, Taylor. I don't know if there's a more underappreciated guy nationally than Tyler Beatty at running back. That guy was unbelievable. And for a guy his size to carry it 322 times last year was off the charts. So really big shoes to fill.
Well, here's some shoes that are running into the end zone. Nathaniel Pete checks into the game, as Greg said, and takes it into the end zone for a goal touchdown.
How about the big fellas up front, too? That was really nicely done by that Gold offensive line.
No, Greg, you mentioned Beatty and how just valuable he was for this offense a year ago. Nathaniel Pete comes in from Stanford, and Coach Drinkwitz told us, he said on a straight line, Pete might be the fastest of all of them that they've had. So adding some speed in the backfield, you saw it right there.
And I think, I mean, he was 700 guy. I mean, he's a terrific athlete. So it'll be interesting to see how he fills that void.
Who carries the load for Missouri in the backfield this year? Is it the Stanford transfer, Nathaniel Pete, tied at 7? That's what Nathaniel Pete did for the Stanford Cardinal in his career there. 665 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns as a 23-yard run for a touchdown here in the Mizzou spring game. As for the entire running back position, you see Beatty and Dawson Downing are gone. Harris, Young, and Cox return, with Pete and Cody Schrader coming into the program. Greg, it's anybody's guess who is going to be the starting tailback in September.
Yeah, and I think if you talk to people in the program, you talk to the coaching staff, I don't think anybody anticipates one of these talented running backs replacing Beatty's productivity. I think going into it, the approach is likely going to be by committee. And I think what's nice about it is you have some different guys. You have some different body types. You have some different skill sets. So they have obviously speed with Nathaniel Pete, which is exciting, and you got to have speed at that position naturally. But you got B.J. Harris and Elijah Young. Michael Cox is not playing as much running back, but can situationally in a short yardage situation. And then you referenced him, Cody Schrader from Truman State, who making the jump from the FCS. I mean, the guy went for 2,000 yards. So a veteran add in the transfer portal here for Missouri, and I think good depth at tailback.
This is Michael Cox that is standing back there taking the ball from Cook. And Cox goes up near the 30-yard line. Sophomore from Atlanta.
Cox kind of a tweener, right? He's kind of in between a tailback, fullback type. They've been playing him in a H-back, fullback type of setting. Seeing him at tailback here now.
He's a bruiser, though. I mean, he's a downhill one-cut back. And
he goes down immediately as Darius Robinson's in the backfield with him. Robinson goes unblocked there, Luke's the captain of the gold team.
You never want to hear unblocked.
Yeah.
That's not good.
3rd and 12. Closer to the 24-yard line is where Cook will snap this one. Down the right sideline, the one-on-one ball is caught by Burden, and they give it to him near midfield at the 49-yard line. The true freshman from St. Louis.
I got Coach right here now. There's your freshman. All right, we've talked about this vaunted class. How has he responded to all the fanfare, all the hype, the expectations from a production standpoint?
Man, he shows up every day and goes to work. He knows he can get a lot better by just coming in here every day. No matter how good he was coming in here, he knows he needs to continue to improve in order to play at a high level in the SEC, and that's what's really impressive about him.
You know, we saw Tyler Macon respond on that last series. What are you looking to see out of Brady Cook here?
Same thing. How's he going to deal with the pressure? First drive, he went 3 and out. How are we going to respond here? You know, are we going to be able to get the offense moving? And so far, so good.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, that was a great adjustment by Burden on the back shoulder and a perfect throw by Cook.
Really was.
Great job using his feet, too, to get that foot down. And then Cox carries it into goal territory at the 47-yard line. Here's Cook. He can run, too, and he's right near the first down marker. 3rd and short.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the misconception, too, because I think everyone looks at Tyler Mank and says, oh, well, he's a great athlete, got to work on throwing it. And people look at Cook and they say, well, he's a great thrower, but maybe not a great athlete. I think they can both do both. I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to pigeonhole these two quarterbacks into their respective spots. I think both can be accurate enough to throw the ball and athletic enough to keep plays alive if necessary.
Well, and right, you don't have to be Lamar Jackson, right? What you've got to do is extend plays, keep plays alive. Coach Drinkwitz told us this week, he said, we need our quarterbacks to get us 2 first downs a game with their legs, whether that's a design run or that's just creating and making plays like we saw with Brady Cook.
Cox got the first down. He goes out, and in comes Harris.
If I'm calling the plays, I'm taking a shot right here.
Instead, they don't listen to McElroy. They hand off to B.J. Harris, and they don't get anything. Joseph Charleston on the tackle.
Take a shot, Coach. Take a shot. Plus 40, first and 10. Take a shot,
plus 40,
man.
we want a shot, Coach.
I'm not calling plays. I'm just encouraging like a cheerleader out here.
He's letting his assistants call the plays today. He's got, of course, his players that picked the teams today. Barrett Bannister, the leader of the gold team, and Isaiah McGuire, the leader of the black team. The players decide if they're going to go for it or punt or kick today. Here's a little trickeration that's called as Mookie Cooper ends up with the football. And Cooper showing off the footwork, gets a first down at the 30.
Hey, how do we feel about Coach Drink? How do we feel about white jersey, no contact white jersey blocking out there in front?
Look at this.
First off, is this an audition for you to replace Kirk Herbstreit at the Alabama spring game? And second off, anytime a quarterback displays toughness, it's applauded. It's never a negative.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'm good with it. I feel like now that he just had a nice block, now the defensive players are going to say, well, if you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you.
They probably are, which would be good for everybody.
Luke, make sure that we don't see that McElroy Citrus Bowl footage here. Incomplete as he's looking for Burton, who's covered up there by McGuire. When McElroy's running down the field, blocking Spartans, brings you back when you see Cook in the open field like that.
We do have a few technical difficulties right now. Greg is having a difficult time with his...
were you guys making fun of me for the last 30 seconds? Because I couldn't hear anything.
No, absolutely not. Of course not. We wouldn't think of it.
Kidding, it was the last great collegiate moment for you to light somebody up like that. Harris is there in the backfield next to Cook. Brady throws to the right side where it's caught by Captain Bannister down to the 11-yard line. Bannister, the graduate player from Fayetteville, Arkansas. 31 catches on the season last year, and his black team is tied with the gold at 7 at the end of the first quarter in the black and gold game. It's turned into a beautiful spring day here in Como for the black and gold spring game at the end of the first quarter with Tom Luganbill and Greg McElroy and Taylor Zarzer. Currently, this black team on a 6-play, 50-yard drive. It's taken over 4 minutes off of the clock.
Once again, Taylor, just kind of talking situational football during the break there. Coach Drinkwitz is talking to the yellow defense. You've got, what, 2nd and 22. You know, you're backed up. They're going to try and get maybe half of it back if they can. Watch for 4 verticals. We've simplified the coverages, so you're not seeing a bunch of intricate pressures and blitz packages and different coverages. So the offense pretty much knows what's coming and can somewhat schematically have an advantage because there's very few things defensively that Missouri can do.
Now moving from right to left with Luther Burden. He gets the quick pass there from Cook as he lines up in the slot, and just look at that athleticism that's on display. Mookie Cooper with the catch there. Cooper in the slot is expected to have a big season, the transfer from Ohio State.
Talk about that athleticism. You know, that's what's made defensive football so hard in college football. You get the ball behind the line of scrimmage to a slot. He makes the first guy miss. Now you got problems.
Now B.J. Harris returns to the backfield on this 3rd and 15. Cook starting for the black team and making the starting quarterback for the gold team, the 2 quarterbacks out there. And Cook throws to the end zone where it is picked off by Joseph Charleston. It was intended for Luther Burden, but the ball stayed in the air for a long time, Lukes, and Charleston was right underneath it.
Well, it certainly did, and I was talking about the simplified coverages, and that time you had a too high safety look, and Brady Cook just did not see the safety come off the hash and laid that ball up to Luther Burden with way too much air. And as a result, that safety gets off the hatch, and Eli Drinkwitz talking to his quarterback right now about not only pre-snap, but post-snap. You've got to be able to key where that defender's responsibility is and avoid it with a proper and more accurate throw.
And understand, too, that you really have to drive the football because there's nowhere for that safety to retreat. When you're in the red zone,
right,
you can't run over the top and out of the back of the end zone. You don't have to stretch the field vertically. You have to stretch the field horizontally. So that ball's got to get up and down. And that time, Brady Cook just not able to do it.
The transfer from Clemson gives the ball back to his gold team. And the bubble passes to Pete. And Nathaniel scored the touchdown for this team on the previous possession. Gets it out past the 27-yard line.
Nice play call on the screen. Really good patience, too, by Tyler Macon right there, just to settle, draw the rush in. Nice little easy dump off pass. Pete back in the backfield now at running back.
On this 2nd and 3, Pete, patient running, gets the first down up to the 31-yard line. And as Greg was saying, you look at Schrader, you look at Young, Pete, Harris, also Michael Cox, who's more of a catch-all. Lots of options for Mizzou in that backfield. And Luke, you don't necessarily have to find one horse, right? You can have 2 or 3 of these guys.
There's no question, and they're all kind of different body types, bring a different style of play. You saw with Nathaniel Pete there, the Stanford, transfer. He's a jump cutback. He's going to make people miss in a phone booth.
Macon throws, and that ball was intended for Pete. It looked like Arden Walker got a little pressure on him that bothered him at 2nd down.
Good patience by Tyler Macon right there, just hanging in there, believing what he was seeing. Tried to dump it off, just doesn't end up connecting on the throw, but staying within the framework of the offense, going through progressions.
Second and 10, and it's Pete who gets a couple, tackled by Isaiah McGuire. Here's what the quarterbacks have done so far today, Lukes, with Cook passing for 41 yards, but throwing that interception for a touchdown, or Macon rather is throwing the interception for the touchdown. Cook also just picked off a moment ago.
Yeah, and again, these are all teaching points, right? You're going to go back and you're going to watch on tape, and you're going to see, what did you do pre-snap? What did you do post-snap? Did you work through the progression? Did you number one, throw it to the right guy, but throw an accurate throw? And then how do you respond, as Coach Drinkwitz talked about? After a mistake, you got to have a short memory.
On 3rd and 7, he tried to step up, Macon did, but they blow the whistle dead as McGuire gets to the quarterback. Jason Skyver's in there as well. It's 4th down. Skyver's a freshman from Independence, Missouri, forcing the punt. Luke's, we keep referencing all these Missouri young players. High school football in the Show Me State is going through maybe one of its best stretches ever.
It really is, and the 2022 class, which Missouri just signed, a top 15 class, arguably the best class ever, and then the 2023 class, which we'll talk about throughout this day in the state of Missouri. There's a window here for the Tigers to make a push in the SEC East.
Well, as Luke's just said, this is what the recruiting class looks like for the Missouri Tigers. 28 signees, 10 from right here in this state, with 6 ESPN top 300 signees, 15 offensive players, 13 on defense. Greg, where would you say Missouri needs the most support, I guess, offensively or defensively throughout these different positions?
Well, I think in this league, I mean, just as much as anything else, I mean, you can never have enough defensive bodies.
Right.
And I think really the front seven, and if you look at Missouri last year, and really the last 4 games, really the last month of the season, they started to play much better against the run. But that's something that plagued them really all year long. Just really struggled to find consistency in the front seven. They made some adjustments to their personnel at the second level. That helped, but still it didn't alleviate all their issues. So I think front seven defensively, and especially along the defensive line, is where they really need to hit home in these next couple of recruiting classes.
Cook throws it behind the line to Luther Burden, and Burden shows off that speed. So he gets into the gold secondary, and he's stopped at the 36-yard line. Burden clearly the top of all of those recruits.
Yeah, 6 ESPN top 300 signees, 10 players out of the state of Missouri. Luther Burden, the top player in the class, and for many reasons, you can see why right there. He's just, Greg, there's not many guys his size that are as twitchy and explosive as he is.
Yeah, he's really thick through the lower half. I just didn't anticipate him being that thick, so he is going to be a handful in the open field when he is carrying the football.
Takes off, and he's whistled at the 38 after a short pickup. And it's not just Burden, Greg, at receiver. We've seen a lot of Dominic Lovett so far. Barrett Bannister, the captain of the black team today. Toski Dove, of course, is coming off of a big season where he caught 38 passes last year. As you take a look at this recruiting class, but at receiver, how would you evaluate that position group so far, Greg?
They're pretty solid, man. Like, I remember when we called their game against Georgia last year, and they were going to be hamstrung a little bit naturally. I mean, it's Georgia. They were so good on defense, they can make anybody look very human. But really watching them, they have good skill. I mean, they have good, I love their scheme, outside zone. And I think their wide receivers are very, very solid. Now, can you add another piece or two? Of course. Like, you'd love, if I can get 4 guys that are matchup problems, we're in great shape, right? And I don't know at this point if they have that many that would be a legitimate threat, but I think they have a lot of guys that are extremely serviceable. And I think it's a very good core of wideouts, and it has a chance, I think, to be one of the best groups in the SEC if they continue to develop and bring Luther Burden along like we all anticipate.
Cook throws a first down pass down to the 42. Tight coverage, but nice catch made by Makai Miller with Jalen Carlisle all over it.
Another one of those freshmen, Greg. Makai Miller in the same class here with Luther Burden. Now you're seeing a little tempo from this offense.
What do you think of their wideouts, Luke? I really like them. I think they got guys that can catch and run. They got guys that can stretch the field. They have some guys that are really reliable underneath. Like, I like this group top to bottom.
I do too, and I think they're inside guys. You know, they're smaller guys are a real problem to handle in space. And then on top of that, listen, if Brady Cook or Tyler Macon or the incoming freshman Sam Horn, whoever it is, even if they go out in the transfer portal and bring a quarterback in, if that guy just takes what the defense gives him, they've got enough playmakers to move the football.
And the scheme helps too. I mean, they just have a really good, solid offensive identity.
Yes.
When I turn on Missouri, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get stretch zone. I'm going to get an offensive line that's great horizontally, athletically, and they're just a difficult team to prepare against with when you're looking at them offensively. I really like their identity, and I think it's one that you can win a lot of football games with, and one that would be very attractive, I think, if you're a recruit and someone that wants to maybe catch the football and the opportunities that you might get down the field.
Jay Harris taking off and whistled down at the 29, where Snoop Reeves was the first to touch him. Zoo's offense on this black team going quickly and handing to Harris again down to the 25 inside the 24-yard line. For years, Greg, we saw Josh Heupel when he was the offensive coordinator here, now the Tennessee head coach, go as fast as anybody.
Right.
How fast would you compare Coach Drinkwitz's offense to that of Heupel's?
I mean, they can ramp it up. The thing I like about Coach Drink's system is he obviously comes from a tempo background, having worked for Gus Malzahn. I mean, that's his background is tempo.
And then the Boise stop.
Right, and the Boise stuff, which is all about distribution and trying to cover so many different places, and it's extremely quarterback friendly. I love that. But as far as tempo is concerned, like, tempo is not an identity anymore. It used to be, oh, they're a tempo team. you know, they're a handful. Tennessee is, of course,
Yeah.
like they rely heavily on it. UCF,
It's a tool now.
Right, it's a tool. It's not something that you hang your hat on. It's something that you have and can use at any point, but it's not who you are. And I think that's really what Eli Drinkwitz is he's a tempo guy at his core, but it's not their sole identity. Their sole identity is complementary football, and he'll use the tempo if he feels like his offense needs a bit of a boost.
Making a bunch of substitutions here on this 2nd and 8. Just over 6 minutes remaining in the second quarter in this spring game, with the teams divided up equally, tied at 7. Luther Burden's down at the bottom of your screen here, with Cook looking that way.
I wouldn't look
at
that
the
way.
safety over the top,
I think
though.
the safety's aware of where Luther is, too.
That's why they got 3 other guys to the top of the screen, and Burden does go into the slot, and it's Luther, touchdown. Freshman from St. Louis, and everybody here in the Show Me State's excited about, into the end zone for a touchdown. Oh, they're hopeful to see a lot of that in 2022 come the fall.
I mean, that just can't happen defensively. Like, you are
No.
double covering. You are double covering their most dynamic weapon, and he just catches it with way too much space. As they knock it through there for the extra point. Just really poor defense, but a great play.
14-7 with Luther Burden's team on top in the 2022 Mizzou spring game. Mizzou head coach Eli Drinkwitz described his new freshman phenom Luther Burden as humble, competitive, and a man that takes to coaching to Tom Luganbill just a moment ago. Let's add one more thing. Extremely talented. 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown, Greg, so far for this guy.
He's got some game, man. I mean, I'm very impressed. And you know who he reminds me of just on the field and just looking? He looks like Deebo Samuel. I mean, like, and Deebo Samuel, by the way, was a monster. You know, I know you loved him, Taylor. That was like your favorite guy in the world. I think you
Still
you know,
is.
Well, he's everyone's favorite now. And everyone's seeing just how great he is, how dynamic and versatile he is there. But man, I mean, just the way he's built, the way he moves.
On the right sideline, the one-on-one ball is caught by
and especially along the defensive line is where they really need to hit home in these next couple of recruiting classes.
Cook throws it behind, and you see Burden's highlights here so far in the game, and I do see those similarities. He is, as you keep saying, Greg, the first thing that stands out is just how thick his legs are, and he's got such an incredible base. That's why you can line him up all over the football field, similar to the way the Gamecocks did, and now the 49ers do with Deebo Samuel.
Coach, let's ask Coach Strink. Coach Strink, who do you think Luther reminds you of? He reminds me of Deebo Samuel. Is that a fair comp, you think?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Debo's a really good player. Curtis Leeper coached Des Bryant when he was at Oklahoma State, and that's who he says he reminds him of. You know, for me personally, Kelvin Harmon's a guy I had at NC State that was a really good player, all-conference player. So that to me is, oh my gosh, forget talking about him.
Yeah, why don't we talk about
What
Dominic
LD
Lovett?
does.
Look at Lovett go.
There's a little bit of a rivalry. Both of them played at East St. Louis, so it's an awesome thing.
Yeah, you need to keep
so-
that pipeline going. Yeah. There's dudes coming out of East St. Louis High School.
Lovett said, y'all are talking too much about Burden. I'm going to take this thing over.
There you go. I agree with Coach Looper, though. And I said this to you, Taylor. Des Bryant, just that thick build, the twitchy change of direction, really sudden and explosive for Luther. But again, we just got done, Greg, talking about this receiving core as a whole. As you can see, it's pretty talented.
I'm telling you, they're good, man. And they got a lot of different guys. And what I've been surprised by, too, being on the field, they have good length. I mean, they have a couple of tall wide receivers that are great in this part of the field as the field condenses.
And Lovett, by the way, was Burden's teammate at East St. Louis High School, just a year older than Burden, as Macon keeps it himself inside the 20, down inside the 17-yard line. Great blocking by the entire Gold team in front of Lovett. You should see Dominic's numbers from last season. As you said, Greg, when the field condenses, that's where you really will get an idea of how confident Macon and Cook are in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, the windows get so much smaller down here. And every offense in college football can move it between the 20s. But when you get in the red zone, that's really what separates the men from the boys. So got to be good in this part of the field.
And if you toss it ahead to guys like Lovett, they can help you out. Dominic Lovett into the end zone. So he breaks a tackle, and the goal team is scored for a second time.
I love those touchdown passes.
They count.
They do.
They count.
You don't have to draw a picture on the scorecard.
That's right. They count.
The way Macon will tell all his friends that aren't watching but maybe listening or looking at the box score, he'll say, yeah, I threaded the needle between two defenders on that 21-yard touchdown pass to Lovett.
Here it is. Just the little toss ahead to Lovett, who did almost all of the work on this drive.
Man, I tell you what, he's explosive. You get him and Burden there in the slot and give them some two-way goes, three-way goes. Just get him the ball and let him rip. Man, you got some problems.
Remember in the old days if you gave up 400 yards a game on defense, you got fired, and now you can give up 500 yards and still win the game.
Right.
I mean, that's how insane it is to coach defensive football in college football. And, you know, Blake Baker, who we mentioned when we came on air, is the newly minted defensive coordinator here. He's got obviously a lot of work to do on that side of the ball. A year ago, Greg, Missouri gave up almost 7 yards a play. So full plate for Coach Blake Baker as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be real though. All right, so in the spring, is your tackling going to be great? Probably not. You know, I mean,
No, exactly.
Like, let's just be real. I mean, you installed the defense, and basically, here's the thing about spring games too, and I've done a lot of them, Lugs. I know you have.
Yeah.
We've played in them, whatever. If they came out here and they scored 14 points, you know what Eli Drinkwitz is going to have to do for the next 4 months? Calm everyone down. Because
That's right.
if your defense looks bad in the spring, no one cares. But if your offense looks bad in the spring, you got a lot of explaining to do when you go on those road shows throughout the course of the
It's a long
summer.
time to fall camp.
Yeah, so
It's such a good point, too, because we go into all these coaches' meetings throughout the spring, and we ask defensive coordinators, what are you guys going to dial up tomorrow? And we're not allowed to do anything. What are you talking about?
I'm not saying they're letting them score, but I'm saying it's definitely going to make life a little better if they score a bunch of points today.
Cook throws it down the field looking for Looper. Incomplete. It'll be second down. Hey, G, let's switch to the offensive line here and talk a little bit about the guys that are going to try to protect Cook, Macon, and whoever else plays quarterback for the Tigers this year. They're led by one of the best transfers in all of college football in Connor Wood, the Montana State All-American FCS player.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, this scheme really does make it kind of easy on the offensive line. Not, you know, it's never, let's be real, it's never easy on the offensive line, but this scheme helps because they play so sideline to sideline. They're so horizontal with how they attack you. And this is not going to be a great indicator of what their offensive line is going to be this year, because this scheme really demands that you cut people on the backside, and you're not going to do that against your own guys, not in the spring. So if the offensive line has some ups and downs today, it's because they're not really able to do what it is they do. So I think they're going to be fine group. They have a solid group across the front. They got to figure out center.
Yeah.
They're going to miss Mayetti, who played forever. And they're going to miss Case Cook, 2 solid pieces last year, but 3 guys coming back, a couple additions via the transfer portal. I think Eli Drinkwitz feels good about his depth along the front.
And they really love Connor Tollison, the young guy at center. You talked about the center competition. I think athletically, he's got himself an edge there as they head into the summer.
Freshman from Jackson, Missouri, Tollison getting some playing time today. Of course, Wood was here in Como last year as he transferred from Bozeman 2 seasons ago. Nice turn and move by Burden, showing off the athleticism up to the 40-yard line where Hicks makes the tackle.
We're not quite there yet, but it feels like we're approaching the, hey, I don't care where 3 is, throw it to 3.
Well, you know the other thing too, Greg, is like young, and you played with Julio Jones when he was young, right?
Yes.
If you can get off of press coverage as a young player, you got a leg up on everybody.
100%.
And he can.
Cook looks away from Burden this time and throws to Cooper. And Mookie makes the catch near the 45-yard line. Tyler Jones in coverage to make the tackle there. Cooper, another St. Louis guy. He went to Trinity Catholic High School, a rival of East St. Louis. One thing you see in the spring, guys, is a lot of movement at the line of scrimmage, trying to get that cadence down. We've seen that several times today.
That's what spring ball is for, right? I mean, you've got to iron all these things out. You've got procedure penalties. You've got rotation, substitution, discipline. All this stuff's being monitored, too. Every single bit of it is being charted so that the accountability of the player's performance is documented.
Second and 1. Take a shot, Drink. Take a shot.
Throw it deep.
Drink yells at the black bench, take a shot.
Low percentage.
As he is not calling.
Second and 1. Take a shot. Let's go. Then you're going 2. Watch.
Back shoulder to 3, up top.
The safeties are tight, too.
McElroy changes the play. Cook comes up to the line to tell them that he has, and now takes the shot. And there's your shot to Chance Looper for a touchdown.
Drink comes through. There we go.
There it is, baby.
There we go.
Nice throw by Cook, too.
Hey, are we on salary this week?
I was going to ask.
Hey, yeah. How do we feel about that? You like that play call, Coach?
First off, I think y'all are really great suggesters. If y'all could show up on game day and tell me what the hell to call, it'd be a
Yeah,
lot.
of course. Because nobody does that.
No, we only call plays after the play.
That's what commentators do. They'd always double bag it.
Our job's easy. That was the right play call because it worked.
Why
That's
are they
right.
running inside zone?
Hey, speaking of double bagging, Drink is the offensive coordinator, Greg, and the head coach. So, you know, maybe he does have an open position on his staff for you.
I like it. I tell you what, a day like today, 60 degrees, today's a good day to call some plays. It was windy.
It was a bit rigged, too, because Curtis Looper, the running backs coach, literally designed a play to throw it to his own son.
That's right. Sophomore from North Richland Hills, Texas, caught 21 balls for the Tigers last year, and his dad, Curtis, the running backs coach for the Tigers.
That was a nice throw, way to stack the defender.
It was.
Get over the top.
You mentioned those safeties coming up tight.
Safety's way too tight right there.
As we look at the identity of this offense as Coach Drinkwitz goes into his third season, Luke's, he referenced Bobby Petrino to us the other day, who's now the head coach at Missouri State, somebody that he's really looked at as a guy that can influence the wrinkles in his offense.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino, we mentioned Jeff Brom at Purdue. Obviously, both of those guys cut from the same cloth, having coached at Louisville together. And I think he has an appreciation for a tried and true, Greg, offensive scheme that no matter how many different evolutions we've seen in college football over the last 20, 25 years, Bobby Petrino's offense applies everywhere, right? Everywhere, and it has not changed, and you got to have an appreciation for that.
I love their offense. I always said, like, if I were to do it and like call plays or install an offense, I could do it however I wanted. The offense that I would run would be some variation of this offense with the Oregon State, Jonathan Smith. Love what they do, a lot of the same stuff. And then Joe Moorhead, formerly of Mississippi State.
With the RPO game.
With the RPO game and some of the quarterback run stuff. Like, those are some of my favorite. They're so quarterback friendly. They do such a good job of just taking the weight off the shoulders of the quarterback as best they know how.
Macon handing to Pete, who bounces it outside. Doesn't get much. Nice pursuit by Dalen Carnell, who had that pick six earlier.
You see the speed there by Pete. I mean, getting to the outside. It was good pursuit by the defense. But Pete, you can tell he's got some burst.
Yep. Again, all these backs are just a little bit different from one another.
Yeah, they are. I like the way they complement each other, too.
Pete goes out. Young comes in and goes to the bottom of your screen. Throws to him quickly, but that play blown up. Couldn't get any blockers in front of him It's Devin Nicholson, one of their best defensive players last season. You see Coach Drinkwitz, he wouldn't typically be signing autographs during a regular season game in the fall, but having some fun out there today with the fans. Good turnout too, might add.
Really good turnout.
Beautiful day in Columbia.
It's a great turnout, man. This is about as good as it gets. I mean, this is, if you're trying to sell the program, it's a day like today. I'm not sure you could ask for a better spring game environment. It's perfect. There's no other spring games going on. Of course, you got a little March Madness to concern yourself with, but for the most part, man, just a picture-perfect day here in Como.
Wind's the only thing you're dealing with, right? What's worse? What's worse? Wind or rain? Coach, what's worse? Wind or rain?
Wind is way worse.
I totally agree.
I hate wind.
Hey, by the way, I just heard you jump a defender's approach on tackling. As difficult as tackling is,
You got to keep your head up. It's all about player safety. You want to keep your head up. He dove. Eyes were down. Where your eyes go, your head and body will follow.
guys get hurt.
It's a way to get hurt. We're not doing that.
Yep.
How do you feel about the defense so far? I mean, offense is making some nice plays, but
It's hard because they don't really have a lot of depth. So in the course of a drive, they're getting tired. But I really like the way they're getting people behind the chains. They're just not able to sustain it. But individual player, Joseph Charleston, a transfer's come in, made an interception. Dalen Carnell's got a pick 6. Isaiah's had a big sack. I think both sides of the ball are flashing in a positive way for him.
That's a good point you just made, Greg. He's got over a dozen guys on his defensive side today that are not playing, especially in his secondary. Macon throws the deep ball and caught by Lovett inside the 40-yard line.
very nice throw there over the top. Threading the needle right down the middle of the field, man. I mean, that was really nice. And that was with a bit of a dirty pocket, too.
It was.
And that pocket was collapsing. He hung in there and delivered a strike into the wind, I might add. So that ball, you had to drive that ball. That was a really nice throw from Macon.
Yeah, Arden Walker is that guy that was all over Macon on that play. Now he keeps it himself. Shows off that footwork inside the 25-yard line down to the 22. Definitely that is a huge advantage in Macon's skill set.
And another thing, too, I mean, you can't evaluate that right now, right? Like, he's got wheels, but you're never going to tackle your quarterback.
Right.
You're just never going to make him fully live. So having real game repetitions to draw from last year is really beneficial, and this spring is really going to kind of force him to become a little bit more patient in the pocket, which he's really done a nice job of.
Young breaking tackles into the red zone.
Greg, you talk about responding. He threw that interception on a poorly thrown ball. It was tipped. Ever since that play, he has not made a poor decision with the football.
And every ball has been very accurate, too.
Right.
I mean, it's been right where it needs to be. So, and they said, hey, he's improved a lot as a thrower. And we called the game last year against Georgia, and he had not really developed that part of his game just yet. You can see he's grown by leaps and bounds from where I saw him 6 or 7 months ago. This competition is going to be interesting.
Absolutely.
Numbers after the poor start. He's turned things around. That's a great ball.
Really good throw.
Yeah,
Wow.
Thrown to the 12-yard line, hitting J.J. Hester in stride.
That's a tough throw to the left, too. Tight coverage.
Yeah, tough throw to the left. It's a long throw from the opposite hash. To further the point on Macon is, if the quarterback can run, and he's a legitimate run threat on every single play, Greg, you're playing 11 on 11 on defense now, and that changes how you defend an offense. So when he comes into the game, whether he's a starter, whether he's a sub-package guy, you have to account for that, and more important, you have to practice it every week.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, man, I mean, these quarterbacks are so different, right? I mean, Brady Cook, can he run? Sure. But it's not really his forte.
Right.
I would not be surprised, and as crazy as this may sound, as backwards as it may be coming from a quarterback, two-quarterback system could very easily succeed because of how different the skill sets are between Macon and Brady Cook. And you have both guys, if you want to take the competition into the fall, yeah, you have some big games early in the season, some difficult environments that you have to head to that will be challenging, and you'd love to have your leader identified at that point. But man, if this quarterback competition has to go into the fall, it goes into the fall. You just can't get it wrong. You got to have the right guy.
If that were the case, Greg, would this be the part of the field where you could really utilize his skill set?
Absolutely. I mean, to me, like, I love quarterback run in the red zone. I just absolutely love it because it's hard to move the ball down here, and if you can't run it, man, you're in trouble. It's hard to just pick your defense apart in this part of the field. There's just not enough room.
But get an extra hat.
But you get an extra hat in the run game, and you're cooking with gas. So I really, really think, and I would never recommend a 2-quarterback system, ever. I think it's the most backwards thing in the world, but I think it could work here, especially knowing that these two guys are both young, and they're going to be developed, and they're going to continue to improve as the season comes along.
And Lugs, of course, things could look differently for Mizzou by the time we get to September. There could be other faces that enter the program. I know that Coach Drinkwitz has been public about the fact that he has looked at some transfers and could be looking for a transfer in the months to come. Maybe one of the more experienced players in college football the last few years. Cook, Macon, and maybe one more. Then all of a sudden you've got some options when you get ready to play Louisiana Tech that first Saturday in September.
Hey, right now we're getting told what good guys the Missouri people are because they've slowed the game down for us. I'm sorry, I don't mean to not answer your question there, but no, you're right. You got the freshman quarterback in Sam Horn. Will be here in June. You're going to have transfer portal participation, and everybody in college football is, guys. I mean, that's going to happen after spring football.
And it's
nice cut.
Young with a great cut that gets into the end zone.
Very nice. That was a great little backdoor cut. So that was a good, strong run, too.
It was. He's got some juice, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That was well blocked at the point of attack, too.
He's stronger than he looks. I mean, I don't want to say he's lean. He's not very big, but, man, he delivered a blow there. That was a big collision at the goal line.
And good call out, Luke's, to Javon Foster, the senior from Detroit, who had that big block. And here's one more look at Foster pulling there, and Young following him, hitting the hole hard for that goal touchdown.
Really nicely done. Good cut, good physical run, good finish. Just everything that you want to see from the young running backs. Man, I think this offense is going to be a problem for a lot of folks in this league. I really, really believe that. And, of course, you got to figure out quarterback. And here's another opportunity to evaluate. You have 49 seconds. This is a real-world situation. 49 seconds, end of half situation. You want to try to steal 3 points. You got a couple timeouts in your hip pocket. This is a great learning opportunity, evaluating opportunity for Brady Cook and the offense.
And Coach Drinkwitz told you the other day, Greg, that he really has confidence in Cook's ability to run this offense, knows everything about it, backing up Bazelak last year, is somebody that is prepared to handle anything that Coach Drinkwitz calls during the game.
So, yeah, and here's Coach Drink. He's putting it on the 35 instead of the 25 because they want to try to run this 2-minute operation. And that basically suggests, because if it were at the 25, they probably wouldn't go for it, right? But you really want to evaluate the end of half. What do you want to see from your quarterback here, Coach?
One, he's got to protect the football, and then two, he's got to get us into scoring range, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. Slow screen executed.
Nice tackle there.
Just can't get in the open field. Tyler Jones with that open field tackle.
And the big thing with 2-minute operation and the conversation, Coach, that you're going to have with your quarterback before he takes the field is what?
Yeah, you give him this scenario. So we had 45 seconds, 2 timeouts. So every play in the playbook's in our disposal. We don't have to worry about out of bounds. But the other thing we got to remind him is you cannot turn the ball over in this situation. If the worst thing we do is go into half with possession of the ball, that's going to be a good thing. We're going to try to get our first down, and then after that, we're going to see how far we can push the ball. We got a great kicker, so as long as we get to the other team's 35, we got a chance to get points.
So that's the line to gain. That's the destination, 35.
Yeah, it depends who they drafted. I think Harrison's on this on the Mizzou team.
Who they drafted.
You got the win too.
Hey, man, it's all about who you drafted.
It's all personnel based.
Players over plays.
Yeah,
Confirmed, by the way, Mevis is on this team.
Had the other kicker. He didn't kick it in the end zone. Ball spot on 35. I mean, drafts matter.
As I say, that's a very favorable touchback. I like that.
Yeah.
Rules were you got to kick it in the end zone. It's 25. You don't kick it in the end zone. The other team gets on the 30.
Okay, there you go.
I like that rule. All right.
Need 31 yards.
I don't. If you were a defensive head coach, I don't know if that would be the rule.
They need 31 yards to get to that other 35, and Cook gets out of there. It's dropped by Harris.
Hold on a second, Taylor. Did you just say that defensive guys don't have fun? Would you have fun coaching defense in college football right now?
No. Well, yeah, I would. They're allowed to hold like crazy. In the defensive secondary, they call it catch technique, which just means hold.
It's kind of like rubs and picks, right? Rubs are legal, picks are illegal. Yeah, that's what I thought.
A 3rd and 11 with 33 seconds to go in the first half for Cook. Gets good protection, throws it down the field, perfectly caught by Burden near the 40-yard line, and that's how you get yourself potentially into field goal range.
Really nice throw right there, and a good job too. Good job too of hitting him in stride. Burden, nice run after catch. Would like for him to go down
or get out of bounds.
Well, he did get out of bounds, but he still got it. I mean, he just wasted 7 seconds to gain 2 yards. So clock stops obviously with the first down in college, so you would have time to maybe get up and spike it. But either way, great play.
Cook
got him. Really good placement. Really good placement there by Cook.
Looper, great job tiptoeing the sideline, and they are well within Harrison Mevis's range now.
All right, now the conversation for the quarterback is, all right, we're in field goal range. You cannot have a negative play. No sack.
Correct.
Which was still an interception because we were trying to force it.
Yeah, ball's got to come out, though. That's what the quarterback's mindset has to be.
Second look, that was an incredible catch by Looper, and they go to him again. 2 in a row. But he's out of bounds this time. Looper, that last one, incredible job tiptoeing the sideline. Cayman Hayes, good coverage there with Looper, and you see clearly out of bounds.
It's a good throw. Take a shot at the end zone. You got 12 seconds left. You probably got time for at least 2 plays, and you got a timeout, so you can work the middle of the field if you want to.
Instead goes to the sideline to Bannister. Inside the 10, breaking a tackle, dives. Touchdown!
Oh!
Do we have replay today?
Yeah. Where is the pylon cam?
The captain of the black team, Barrett Bannister, gives his side the lead going into the half.
How about the move after the catch?
That was nice. A little shimmy. Very nice after the catch. Again, don't worry about the tackling. Not important.
Defensive guys don't have fun.
That was really nice, too.
All right, we've just called halftime here. Coach, here's the deal. So you had situational football. You had the quarterbacks make poor throws and respond. All right, you've had field position football. I mean, what else can you expect out of a spring game as you head into the second half?
Well, the most important thing so far is everybody's been healthy, and getting these games, trying to get people healthy, and then get situational football and seeing how people respond. We've had some people step up. We've had quarterbacks step up and make some throws. Obviously, Luther Burton and Dominic Lovett are having a little battle at East St. Louis, so that's a lot of fun. But it's been a good day so far.
No, when you go back and you watch this tape, because this is day 15 of 15 days of spring football, how much will today count versus those previous 14 days?
Every day counts, right? Every day counts. Every day that you work out in the weight room or practice, you're going to be evaluated. Are you getting better today? Did you do something to help yourself or help our football team? And so we'll evaluate it. It's not going to be, depth chart finalized or anything like that. It's just part of our personal growth. Are we getting better every single day?
All right, Coach, thanks so much.
MIZ.
He still won't do it. 28-21. The black side leads the gold as they go into the locker room at halftime. We've seen some explosive plays on offense for both of these sides so far in the annual black and gold game in Como. It is 28-21 in the annual black and gold spring game, with the black team having the lead over the gold team at halftime. Let's take a look at some SEC East storylines going into the 2022 season that the Tigers will battle against. Florida naming Billy Napier their new head coach, coming over from the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana, replacing Dan Mullen. The national champion Georgia Bulldogs named one of their former players, Will Muschamp, their new co-defensive coordinator. So they have a new staff on that side of the ball. And South Carolina gets a prized transfer from Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler will be their quarterback this year. You combine that with Kentucky having a new offensive coordinator, year 2 of Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Clark Lee will be in his second year at Vanderbilt. The SEC East will be competitive this upcoming season with this new offense for the Missouri Tigers. They will be a problem for all of those opponents come the fall. Back in Columbia in just a moment. We saw some big highlights in the first half, including Elijah Young's late second touchdown. Ready for the second half with Tyler Macon at quarterback for the Gold Squad. Taj Butts, the freshman from St. Louis, behind him. And here's Butts wiggling his way for a first down run.
Golly, I like that play so much. That running back comes vertical up the right-hand side. You have a puller out in front, and it's just a natural built-in cutback. It's really hard to stop because all the flow.
It looks like it's going strong side.
It looks like it's going to the right, but the ball is actually designed to go back to the left, and the quarterback can read the end. It's just, I don't know how you stop that.
Butts, who did not play any last season, getting some action now. Deep ball into double covered receiver Toski Dove's hands, but he can't hold on to it.
Really
Second
well
down.
thrown. Well
Really
thrown
nice
football.
throw. And a great job, too, defensively, getting over the top. And we've referenced time and time again, this secondary is far from 100% without some of their best players in the back end. And you can make a case between Carlisle and Manuel. They might have as good a safety tandem as anybody, but that was a good time there, getting over the top and breaking that play up.
And that's Justin Efabera that Greg is talking about, the sophomore former walk-on that's been all over the field so far today. And it's Butts again, near the 40-yard line.
No, Greg, Taylor, one of the things I love about this format, Coach Eli Drinkwitz decided to have his players draft their own teams, is there's no way to point fingers, right? There's no way for a player to say, well, I didn't get any turns with the ones, right? I only took my turns with the 2s and 3s, and I was at a disadvantage. You don't get to make that assessment now. It's all on the players. I just love the competition that creates.
And what you sacrifice in continuity, you make up for it in chemistry, right? Because, yeah, you'd love to have the starting right guard next to the starting center in a spring game format. Those are invaluable reps, but you have plenty of time to do that. Like, you could do that in the fall. Like, make this about the competition. And I think that is really important, and that's, I think it's a great way to structure. And you find out, too, you find out what your teammates think about you.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I got to be a better guy. I got to be a better teammate. Look, I just got picked last. You know, that you find out a little bit what your teammates think about you, and that can be hurtful, but it also can be eye-opening as well.
Aiken gets Dove the ball this time inside the 25 as Dove makes the catch over Sistrunk down near the 20.
It's a good job by Dove. Underthrown deep ball. Ball fluttered. Macon lost it out of his hand, but a really good job by Dove coming back and making a play on it.
Going quickly. This one to Gavin McKay.
That's twice, Greg. He's made that long throw on the out route in an accurate manner off to the left side.
Yeah, I've only seen 2 balls flutter. One was that deep ball he just threw a second ago, and the other was the interception. Everything else has been pretty tight for Macon throughout the course of the day.
Just a few yards there for McKay. 2nd and 7. Now Butts hitting the hole hard and running hard inside the 15 down to the 14, where it'll be 3rd and short. And Greg, to your point about continuity, they had a couple of scrimmages where all of the first teamers were playing together the last couple of weeks, so they did get that repetition with those guys. But that's an excellent point by you about it shows you where you stand among your teammates, given where you were drafted earlier this week, to find out whose roster you'd be on. 3rd and 4 now And again, Butts. But he's going to be about 2 yards shy of the first down. Now, what does Captain Bannister call here, Luke? Does he go for it, or does he send the field goal team on?
No, they're going for it, man. And here's that time, to Greg's point. Maybe you don't have continuity in the offensive line, but it's still one of those moments where you say, hey, guys, 4th and 1, we're calling on you. But keep in mind, you've got the quarterback advantage here too, Greg. You've got a running quarterback, gives you an extra hat.
To get right to the 10. Macon wants to do it with his feet and will.
There you go.
Inside the 5, 1st and goal. J.J. Hester with a nice block to set up Macon there too.
Good play call, Greg.
Like that. Really like
Did you make that?
I did not.
Okay.
But it worked, so yes.
Yes.
I think that was really a run play to the left.
Sure.
And they just told Macon, hey, pull it.
Keep it.
It's nice. Because the receivers were all like looking around like, what the heck is he doing?
Down at the 4-yard line where Macon will snap it, get it to Butts, and Butts is stopped at the 2. Jack Meyer, the man that prevented him from getting into the end zone there. Arden Walker and Rayless George in there as well.
Might have had a chance to pull that one around the edge. And I would think in a game, that's a touchdown if he pulls it. With a white jersey on, maybe not, though.
You only got to go a yard.
Right.
Butts gets the handoff, gets to the goal line, and gets in. Team Tigers go all the way down and score on the first possession of the second half. Taj Butts getting a bunch of carries all the way down the field. We've seen Harris, Pete, Michael Cox, Elijah Young, and now we get to see a bunch of Taj Butts as the score is tied at 28 with just over 8 minutes remaining in the third quarter in the annual Black and Gold game in Columbia. Tied at 28 here in the third quarter of the annual Mizzou spring game. Here is what each team is playing for today.
Show them what they're getting. Losers first. Losers get hot dogs. The winners get prime USDA Wagyu ribeyes. Yeah!
Pretty big difference there, right? As you either get hot dogs if you lose, big ribeyes if you win, Greg.
I'll tell you, that's a lot on the line. That's a
Ribeyes.
I mean, having the Wagyu
Winners get
ribeye,
ribeyes,
yes,
right?
100%. And I think no matter what, Coach Pinkel will be able to eat whatever he wants, whatever team he wants.
I got Coach Gary Pinkel here, and you see all the positive changes, the stadium enhancements, the new facility, new indoors going in. One of the original architects of the resurgence of this program. How proud of this program are you to come on campus now?
Well, I'm really proud. I mean, being in the SEC, you got to do the things that you need to do to be competitive, and one is having facilities. And you know, we're going to be, when we get this last project done, we're going to be one of the best in the SEC, and that says an awful lot.
What's keeping you busy these days?
Well, I started a foundation, you know, and it helps kids. I miss taking care of my players, believe it or not. They drove me nuts, but I really missed my players. So we started the foundation to help kids, and that's been really going good. It's called GP Made Foundation. We raised over $500,000 last year. It's only the second year, so we're making progress.
Good for you. I know that the college world, football world, and the landscape has changed so dramatically since you got out. In particular, we've got the transfer portal, we've got the extra year of eligibility. How would you even begin to approach something like that in this day and age?
Well, it's really complex, and it's I get concerned that the rich are going to get richer. I also think that you should go in the portal after 2 years. I think it's much better so you're a young kid and you don't make a stupid choice just because you're young and inexperienced. So those are a couple things I would change, but nobody's asking me though.
Coach, it's so good to talk to you and good to see you, and best of luck.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see him, Luke's. Gary Pinkel did a terrific job in those 15 seasons as the head coach at Mizzou. Greg, I know you were a big fan of him. Did such a good job not only in the Big 12, but obviously transitioning this program to the Southeastern Conference. After Cody Schrader had a couple of good runs, here's another one inside the 40, inside the 30, and he's down at the 29-yard line.
One of the all-time good guys in college football, Gary Pinkel.
Gary Pinkel, just an all-time great guy, man. Love that guy. And what a coach. My goodness. I mean, just the architect of Mizzou made and just carving out a culture. So just amazing what he was able to build and the amount of success that they had here in the transition. I mean, transitioning from the Big 12 to the SEC is no joke.
Nope.
And he did it rather seamlessly with a couple Eastern titles in 13 and 14.
Timeout called by the black team with 2:59 in the clock running here in the third quarter. Gary Pinkel watching his old school on a beautiful day in Como. Cody Schrader continues to carry the football all the way down the field inside the 25-yard line, and now quarterback Brady Cook will do it himself as they whistle it dead. He can get to the 20 for a first down. The running clock in the second half of the spring game, Mr. McElroy.
Yeah, I mean, the third quarter, I blinked a couple times.
Talking to Gary Pinkel over there. Next thing you know, we're in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And now fourth down coming up.
Hey, this is Missouri. We could have a fifth, fourth down, right?
Oh.
Too soon?
Way too soon.
I don't know that that'll ever be.
Too soon?
It'll never not cut too deep. That sort of thing, of course, would never happen today.
Oh.
That could be the thing that would force Twitter to explode. that could be it.
What do you like here, guys, on 4th and 2?
Just hand it off.
Yep.
So I do. I mean, you're short-sided on the right side. You got numbers.
You got to power back.
Yeah, you got power back downhill. You really have numbers both ways. I mean, box is light.
Here's Schrader, and he gets that first down inside the 15. Coaches McElroy, Luganbill, and Drinkwitz like what they see on the field out there as we go to the fourth quarter, tied at 28. Saw a whole lot of this guy in the third quarter. Cody Schrader, 5 carries for 50 yards on this drive. And it's 1st and 10 for his black team at the Gold's 13-yard line. McElroy and Luganbill on the field with Coach Drinkwitz. Watching this team in the red zone, and Schrader again gets it inside the 10.
It'll be interesting to see how Schrader factors in, too. I mean, guy was uber productive at the FCS level, and he's built like
a keg.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's just put together, man. I mean,
Drinkwitz just looked at us, started laughing.
It's shocking that Luganbill made that reference.
Yeah,
he is quick and sudden, though. I mean, he's deceptive.
Truman State transfer hits the hole hard and bulldozes his way into the end zone.
Obviously, the teammates love him, too. I mean, the reaction's strong there, too.
Trucked Tyler Jones into the end zone.
Jeez.
Nice run.
That was violent.
7 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown for Schrader, the senior from St. Louis.
With this running clock, it might be time to run 2-minute operation. This thing is winding. They might have to go into some tempo.
Is this the highest scoring spring game in recent memory you've been a part of?
With traditional rules, yeah.
Yeah, right? Huh? Can you believe how many points are on the board? Hey, by the way, is Schrader one of those guys that like your team just loves?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's worked for everything he's ever gotten, and he's earning it here every day. He's just, the locker room loves him.
I can imagine. Holy smokes.
Man.
Yeah,
That
right?
guy looks like Mike Allstott.
You wish he had his height. Yeah.
5'9", 217 pounds. Once again, Mevis will kick off to Drinkwitz, Luganbill, and McElroy, who are deep.
Listen,
With the
we're
wind,
one
I think
play
this one's
away
gonna go way-
from a home run.
I think this one's going to go way over our heads, hopefully.
Let's get some practice in for the kickoffs come September. Let's take a look at the defense, Greg, and what Missouri has coming into 2022. As we referenced, there's a bunch of guys, some of their best defensive backs that aren't playing today. Wingo is gone. Jeffcoat, McGuire, and Robinson are some key returners. They also bring in Jaden Jernigan and the transfer from North Carolina, Tyrone Hopper.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be better along the defensive front. Now, one thing that I would be just the tiniest bit concerned about is size, because they are a little bit undersized, especially Jernigan, you just referenced from Oklahoma State. He's at 275 pounds playing inside. I think they'll be fine on the edges. I like McGuire. I think was a real nice player for him last year. And you got to hope that Jeffcoat's going to return to form after a little bit of a disappointing 2021 campaign. So I like their edge guys, Lukes, but they got to find some meat in the middle, because that's really what plagued them, I think, last year against the run.
Well, there's no question. It's depth, and it's rotational depth. When a guy goes off the field and another player comes on, do you have any drop off in production? And this is where the transfer portal has been so effective for Missouri, because if you go out, you can quickly replenish an area of need, and you're doing it with an older, experienced player that you've been able to study on tape that's played a lot of college football. They've done that in the defensive front.
2nd and 10 after the incompletion to Hahn. Macon wants to throw it deep again. And this one's caught by Toski Dove, and he's out of bounds down near the 30-yard line.
And there was Jernigan, too, applying the pressure. That would have been a big collision with Macon had he been live. But a nice job again. Toski Dove saying, hey, love it. And you guys are having some fun, but don't forget about me. I've played a lot of football.
Again, he's long. Look at him.
He's very long. Did a good job tracking it in the air that time.
6'2" receiver has had a couple of great catches today in this game.
But watch number 0 in the front right here along the defensive tackle. That's Jernigan. He's a transfer from Oklahoma State. Man, he is quick, but he's small. A little bit like Ed Oliver with his size and the way he's kind of put together.
Run away from Jernigan as Crea hits it outside for a first down run. As you talk about defense, guys, Blake Baker is the new defensive coordinator coming over from LSU. Spent a handful of years with Manny Diaz as his defensive coordinator at Miami. He says last year and the issues they had defensively do not matter to him. It's a clean slate for all of these guys, him included.
And when you think about what Manny Diaz has traditionally been, we talked to Coach Baker about it and said, hey, Coach, what do you want to be? What's the identity going to be? It's going to be an attacking front. If you look at Manny Diaz throughout his tenure as a defensive coordinator and a head coach, they attack. A lot of pressure packages, exotic third down looks, and they try to make the quarterback very uncomfortable. So that's really going to be the bread and butter. So what you're seeing today, obviously this vanilla coverage, that's not going to be who they are when they tee it up in the fall. They'll probably almost be the complete antithesis of what you're seeing today with the disruption they're going to try to create.
Did not change the terminology from Steve Wilkes' defense last year. Steve went back to the National Football League. Under 9 minutes to go now on this second down, and it's Crea again. Doesn't get much as Davion Sistrunk makes the tackle.
Yeah, I think the big thing too with what they are now finding out, I mean, the defensive front, like we talked about, that's going to be important, but they really have to have an eraser at linebacker. And I think they're really hoping that Tyrone Hopper, who is an excellent, excellent addition via the portal from Florida, he actually jumped out in their game against Florida last year. he had 12 tackles. Now, in this stadium, he had 12 tackles against Missouri. So I think they now, adding him will be some much needed athleticism there at the second level and hopefully shore up a position that was rotation last year throughout most of the first 2 months of the season.
And don't get it confused, Luke's Tyron Hopper at linebacker, Tyrone Hopper also playing on the defensive line, the transfer from North Carolina.
That's exactly right. And again, more bodies, more experience at critical positions, especially in the SEC. This is a line of scrimmage league. How do you close the gap with Clemson? How do you, with Georgia and Alabama and LSU? You got to do it up front. And that's what Eli Drinkwitz and this staff have done through the transfer portal to hopefully give them a leg up.
Yeah, and you think too, I mean, think about Missouri's best teams in the last decade, right? What did they have?
Pass rushers, disruptive guys.
Elite pass rushers on the edges. And those were the best defenses. Those two teams went to the SEC championship, so got to find more guys like that.
We'll see what Coach Drinkwitz's team dials up on a 4th and 2 in just a moment. All right, here we go. 4th and 2 for Tyler Macon and his Gold offense. Trailing by 7. Need to get it inside the 11. He's going to throw to the end zone, and it's caught by Toski Dove. They say that he didn't have possession of the football, but the official says he did. Touchdown. Controversy, guys.
I like it. Don't review it. Make it a tie game, and let's put a drive together to go win it. Oh, Drink's asking for 2. There will be no ties. They only bought 60 ribeyes.
Run out of hot dogs for the losers. Let's see, we do get another look at this. Dove.
What do you got, Taylor?
He comes down with it. It's hard to see from that angle.
And it's got to be indisputable video evidence beyond all doubt.
Efabera is right there, and he immediately jumped up and said, oh, he dropped it. He didn't have it. But
so the call will stand, according to Taylor?
We do not have a camera over there. The call stands.
All right.
35-34. And the Gold offense stays on the field.
This is ribeye season right here.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting that the 2-point play is from the 5. There we go. I was going to say, what's going on?
Steve Shaw, you do not need to call the press box. We'll move the football to the 3. Now the defense, the black defense, is going to call timeout here.
Coach Drink just got done telling me there's no timeouts in the 4th quarter.
I'm going to try to find out what the play is going to be.
Yeah? Do it.
Clock stop, too, with 4:35 left.
They're saying they're scared.
Where's Bush Hamden? Let's find him. What do we got here? Well, there he is.
What do you got, Coach?
Jet sweep coupled with a counter scheme coming back over here.
Oh, running it on the 2-point. I like it.
Oh, boy.
I hear you. Influence there with the jet sweep.
Oh, the bad snap. Macon has trouble with it, trying to stay on his feet, and they whistle him down. And the defense celebrates a 1-point lead.
2-point conversion, no good.
Under 4 minutes left, and a tight one between the black and the gold of Mizzou. Under 3 minutes left here in the black and gold game at Mizzou with Tom Luginbill and Greg McElroy. I'm Taylor Zarzer. And guys, both of your crews during the season, it's been a few years since you've been out here, and it immediately when you arrived today, raved about this facility, Faurot Field, what they've done with the end zone, with all the luxury seating down there, and also Coach Drinkwitz's new office. Of course, they've also broken ground on a new indoor facility right outside the stadium.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, it's state-of-the-art facility. That end zone that they've completed just the last couple of years looks fantastic. I have not been here since 2015 for a game, and it's changed an awful lot, man. I mean, it looks really, really good.
Cody Schrader breaking tackles. Tommy Locke blocking for him in front. Locke's the new quarterback out there. the redshirt freshman from Lee Summit, Missouri, and yes, related to Drew. He's his cousin. Tommy gets to come and finish things up here in the last few minutes. Luke's, of course, they have that 70-yard indoor facility currently.
That's right.
And they're very excited about the extra yardage in the new one.
Well, and you should be, and not only the extra yardage, but you're going to have a ceiling height where you can kick in there, and you can actually get a full practice if you had to go inside. And whether it's the end zone facility, the upper deck on the visiting sideline, everything on this campus is relatively new, and it's been an athletic investment because they know. And Coach Gary Pinkel, former head coach here, mentioned it to us. He said, listen, if you're going to compete in this conference, you have to invest, and you're going to have to upgrade, and you're going to have to keep up. And Missouri's decided they're willing to do it.
And it's obviously paying dividends. I mean, look at the recruiting class, right? I mean, kids are going to make decisions, and if your facilities are outdated, and there were a million examples of those, by the way, in the SEC up until the last 6 or 7 years, but you're now seeing tremendous financial investments in these facilities. Now, the money coming in from the league is remarkable, but it's being put to good use, obviously, with all the things that are going on here. And a great example of it is what they're doing from a facility standpoint here at Mizzou.
Well said. And as we continue to look at this defensive roster, Luke, you guys were just talking about the recruiting effort. At linebacker specifically, they brought in a few guys that I know you had your eye on. Xavier Simmons out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Right.
And another North Carolina player just north of Charlotte, Vic Garrido, also signing with the Tigers.
Yeah, that familiarity with Coach Drinkwitz and his time at not only App State, but NC State before that. Obviously, you've got great relationships. You got good football in the state of North Carolina. I think the other thing, too, is we talk about these facilities. If you have somebody that's willing to invest and willing to help upgrade and elevate this program, guess what? We're in the age of NIL. You got to have those people around your program to help you compete on the NIL landscape. If you don't have facilities, if you don't have upgrades, where are you supposed to compete in NIL? And that's something that I think is real positive for Mizzou right now.
On this 3rd and 6 for Tommy Locke and the Black Squad, nursing that 35-34 lead. Gold team has used one of its timeouts, and another flag comes down. Gives us a chance to talk more about that second level, Greg, that you were referencing earlier. Devin Nicholson, Hopper, the transfer from Florida.
Right.
They'll be expecting both of those guys to have big seasons this year.
And I think, too, man, if you can just find elite linebackers, and I think Missouri can find elite linebackers. I think they might have a difficult time compared to some others in the SEC to find super elite defensive tackles. Just not as many in the state. And you have to go to Texas, and they're hard to get, and everyone's on them. So I think, but they can definitely recruit game-changing linebacker personnel. And if you can create a game-changing linebacker, and you can have that eraser at the second level, you can cover up a lot of potential holes that you might have up front defensively. I think this is definitely a place where you can get great edge players, you can get great linebackers, and I think you can get really good secondary players. But the defensive tackles will be difficult. They're hard to find, they're hard to get. But I think you can definitely make up for it by having great depth at linebacker.
Jack Stonehouse with a cannon for a leg. Punts it inside the 20-yard line. Mookie Cooper, excuse me, was the intended receiver there on that last play. Just had terrible flashbacks. Mookie Cooper, the intended receiver on that last play, and now to give the Gold Squad the football back. One other linebacker to mention, guys, that is not playing today is Chad Bailey, coming off of a nice season for the Tigers last year. He'll be expected to be one of the key contributors come the fall. And Tyler Macon comes back out at quarterback.
All right, 2-minute operation. Got to go win the game.
Coach says no timeouts.
What yard line, Coach?
Macon, a muddy pocket, lifts it up, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Wes Campbell. Good coverage there all game long by Efabera.
I think that defender arrived just a little bit early.
Little nudge.
It was a little early on the arrival.
Justin Efabera.
the away team. It's hard.
1:37 to go. Macon goes underneath this time to Kreh. He's trying to get out of bounds. He's going to be unable to do that. 30 seconds left. Now, this squad does not have Mevis. They have Sean Ketting, the kickoff specialist. Another underneath pass to Kreh. And this time he does get out of bounds. Sistrunk makes the tackle.
If they're going to play that soft, just take the running back over and over and over and over again. It's
Check downs, get first downs.
Absolutely.
They got no timeouts, though.
Yeah, but all you need is a field goal. So you're 30 yards away from.
That's right. What yard
being in
line,
the
Drake?
game.
What do you got to get to? Well, you're the head coach.
Ketting is. Ketting's the kicker.
Ketting's the kicker.
Ketting's the kicker.
I'm guessing the 28 is probably his limit, but we will go live field goal in the case of a game winner.
Oh!
You got wind at the back, too.
Live field goal in case of a game winner.
Could be Luke Bauer, Ketting or Luke Bauer to attempt that. They're both listed on this team. So that's a first down. Clock, after they reset the chains, will run. 56 seconds left. Macon gets it to McKay.
Good job on McKay getting out of bounds, being aware of where he was. A good quick decision from Macon.
Got to get this ball pushed downfield, Greg.
You got a little time, 43 seconds. You got some time, but you obviously need to be real mindful. And this is also, too, where you would probably start to talk to your guys and remind them, hey, man, clock. If we pick up a big chunk yards and you don't get out of bounds.
Oh, it's picked off. Stepping in front is Carnell. His second interception of the game.
Tyler Macon's pass intercepted by number 13, Jalen Carnell.
A pick six in the first quarter and puts it away with an interception in the fourth. Redshirt freshman from Indianapolis.
The final score.
There aren't many defensive backs that were available today, but Carnell was. And he puts a bow on this one as the black team beats the gold 35-34.